Insert Kingdom Hearts reference here, because we are on volume 13 of the 100 girlfriends who really love you. Get comfy because we're going to be here a while. I think this one might be my favorite so far. Though, this far in, it's really hard to tell, but this one did make me laugh a lot. Getting right into it, we begin things with a Patrioska, which I really just wanted to say. Kishika realizes that she feels kinship with Yaku, as Yaku is technically the oldest and is therefore always doting on the others, and not being doted on herself. You know, the exact thing that gave Kishika a complex. So, projection. She comes up with a scheme to go on an amusement park date with Yaku and Rentaro. I honestly don't really understand the overall plan here, but basically Rentaro and Kishika attempt to facilitate scenarios where Yaku can depend on Rentaro. It mostly amounts to a whole bunch of old person doesn't understand technology, though even that is stretched to the absolute limit. Let's go with the idea that she served in World War II, which ended when she was 15 based on math. So, you know, I doubt it, but it's the most that we have to go on, and I think is generally accepted. Anyway, the first roller coaster was introduced to Japan in 1953, 8 years later, so she'd be 23. With that in mind, as amusement parks would begin to spread across the country from there, while she was still a young woman, you're telling me she never once had gone with her family before? Though to be completely fair, that is 100% possible. And I can also believe that she has never driven a car before. But they have been in Japan since 1904, and were used in World War II. How on God's green earth does she not know the concept of a car? And don't get me started on funny grandma face. You got this round, Nakamura-sensei. All's well that ends well, that's what I sometimes say. Oh, and Kusuri and Shizuka were spying on them the entire time, part of the time. At the beginning and end, because Kusuri was jealous of Kishika stealing away her Grammy, yep. The next chapter, well, 2 chapters, they're, you know what? They are absolutely something. It starts off with the family on a group jog, which turns out to be a bid to build up their appetites for unlimited yakiniku, which, let me tell you, sounds so good after reading this. Hot damn, I wish I knew a good place. That aside, throughout this chapter, I slowly started to question, wait, what is even the point of this? And it did get to the point where I was accepting that this was a simple, easygoing, and actually very enjoyable chapter of polycule bonding when, BAM! They hit me with an entire head of super addictive cabbage. And we got an honest-to-God story arc on our hands. Brought to you by the Hardcore Group. Yeah, I don't actually understand that reference either. So, all of the girls are in a death spiral of eating cabbage, despite all of the hard work they put in to have a day of gorging on meat. And it's up to... You ever have a moment where you just realize that you have said something truly baffling? Like, I just had to stop in the middle of writing this script because the phrase, death spiral of eating cabbage, just clicked in my brain. This manga is perfection because it lets me invent new sentences every day. Where was I? Oh right, Rentaro has to Lady and the Tramp his girlfriends with Wagyu beef in order to break their addiction. However, it turns out that Mai never ate cabbage, and the singular marble that rolls around her perfect little head decided to force-feed Rentaro the cabbage, thus locking him into a death spiral. Well, that is what would be the case if he weren't an absolute Chad. By forcing himself to eat meat, it reminds him of all the Lady and the Tramping he had just done, and it snaps him out of the addiction. He then overcomes the Mai obstacle by pointing out that Mei was the last person he kissed, therefore, kissing him is an indirect kiss with Mei and every other girlfriend, but that part's not important for her, but is fun for the rest. Anyway, after that wild ride, we're getting a new girlfriend and another wild ride. Meet Momoha Bononji. She teaches second-year ethics. You know, that thing America has all but abandoned. Her hobbies are day drinking, night drinking, pachinko,
let's go gambling,
impulse buying, and she lives in a tent on school grounds, surviving on the kindness of Yamame and Hahari. At first blush, the only ethical thing about her is the fact that she is adamant that people do not end up like her. This also marks the first time that Rentaro is fully at a loss on how to approach things. Like, obviously, he's not spurring her or anything, but he definitely is dumbfounded by her, especially since her confession was actually a request to shack up in the tent. The Hanazonos have competition in the horny department, and I'm gonna be real, my money's on the new blood. Because, as it turns out, despite the grocery list of vices, the woman is kind of a saint. She was kicked out of home because she was too busy helping out her folks, and they were worried about her future, and even then, she still sends them money. She single-handedly weeds the entire school grounds, and she uses her own money to pay for new equipment for the gardening club. She is genuinely kind, earnest, thoughtful, and a just downright ethical person that values the kindness of others more than the vices that she enjoys. And I'm going to put a pin in the gushing, because a later chapter will be going more into my feelings about her. For now, we have her family bonding chapters. That's right, she gets 2. The family wants to get together to have a pretend drunk sleepover, only to be stopped by the Big Cheese, who is sadly just an important figure in the official translation, Sadness. Point is, can't have underage characters ingest anything that will mimic the effects of alcohol, and even Chad Taro is powerless to change it. But he does have the power to put together the most convoluted, harebrained scheme to still have these chapters. Long story short, he just has it set up so that everyone gets drunk on atmosphere. But he adds so many extra steps, such as getting everyone to blush over drinking his hand-squeezed juice, and make everyone say tongue twisters so that their tongues are numb and they are slurring. And you know what? Let's try some. Kishika in a car, 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 Kishika in a car. Mai's nimble mambo, May's mimble nubble, May. That was immediate. Mother Hahari, happy for Hakari. Hari said, okay, let me know how you did in the comments. And like the video while you're doing that. It's the least you could do after I did this. Anyway, it all works just fine and everyone is acting drunk, accompanied by, these characters have not consumed alcohol or any substances with similar effects, in every panel until the end of the arc. Now, it is time for the Rentaro family acting drunk tier list. Rentaro just gushes about his girlfriends constantly, meaning he's not really any different from his normal self. God tier. Hakane is more open about her bisexuality. God tier. Karane becomes hajidere. God tier. Shizuka becomes a bad girl reading on the floor. God tier. Nano likes to give head pats. God tier. Yee. Kusuri's bladder weakens more than usual, and I have a bit to keep up, so God tier. Hahari is kind of just a normal tipsy person, I guess. God tier. Kurumi likes to lick people now. God tier. Mei needs orders more than ever, from everyone. God tier. Iku acts much more girly. God tier. Mimimi is confrontational. God tier. Meme becomes a hugging machine. God tier. Point of order, I know it is pronounced Mei. I've actually known that from the very start. I will not change. Chio gets all giggly. God tier. Natty is a sad drunk. God tier, but like, with teary eyes. Yamame is the world's strongest. God tier. Yaku is blitzed out of her goddamn mind. God tier. Kishika is self-destructive. God tier. Momiji gets an underbite. You know what? Sure, God tier. Uto goes full Chinibyo. God tier. Akko can't fucking talk. Totes God tier. Like real Tower of Babel coded. Mei is a silly little braggart. God tier. And Momoha is pretty much always drunk, so I'm not sure it's really fair to rank her on this list. God tier! You know, given this manga, I'm very surprised that not one person was a naked drunk. Like, if you had told me Meme lost inhibitions when she acted drunk, I would have bet good money that would mean she lost at least some layers. So I guess it was a little disappointing there. Otherwise, completely god tier storyline, it's fantastic. But moving on to more greatness, we have a chapter where Rentaro, Uto, and Akko go on a cafe date. Specifically, a cafe at a campsite for people role-playing as travelers. I love niche shit like this. It's really cute, with the two girlfriends bonding and ends up with the three going to a Gyaru's only cafe. And yes, that does mean Rentaro does dress up as a Gyaru, as God intended. Wholesome interactions all around. For the next chapter, in which Mimi is spotted to start a play, I'll just say that it answers a very important question. Would Rentaro let himself get cucked? In this case, it's just a kiss in the play, but with how Rentaro is the ultimate girlfriend pleaser, willing to do anything and everything to make them happy, it is important to address this at some point. And despite attempting to put up a front for it, the answer ends up being a resounding no, he would not. Good on him for setting boundaries for himself, even if it did take a little prompting from Mimimi. Now, for the final chapter, this is where Momoha cements herself as an instant favorite for me. So, time to take that pin out from earlier. She, Rentaro, Nano, and Mei all go on a date to see various light displays at a park. We instantly have some sort of friction, as Nano wants to see as many displays as possible to create as many memories as possible, so she has constructed a wildly tight and efficient itinerary. However, Mei sees one display that she wishes to look at longer, but due to her nature, she doesn't speak up. Rentaro notices this, and of course wants to figure out how to make everyone happy, but Momoha notices it as well, and is the one to intervene. She turns it into a full ethics lesson, and she doesn't just start with straight up telling them both the problem. When she says that she wants to take a break, it prompts Nano to default to efficiency, and she suggests that they split up into groups, which allows Momoha to gently point out the fallacy, given that she wanted to make memories together. Nano's values aren't wrong, but is seeing every last display a goal or a means to a goal. Basically, will the memories they share together tonight be any less special if they don't see every last display? Nano does come to the conclusion herself that while she would like to see every display, the memories she makes with the family are more important to her. And then Momoha shifts to Mei, having a more rocky attempt at explaining that her happiness is the happiness of them as well. But still, they do end up going back to the display that had caught Mei's eye earlier. And I just realized that it's been established that she can't actually see when her eyes are closed, but we are going to ignore that like we always do. But yeah, I love Momoha from here. It's wild that the most competent adult character in the series outside of Yaku is a drunkard. But here we are. I understand Nano and Mei now looking up to Momoha, much to her chagrin, because holy crap is she good at her job and just being a person. She never rebuked anyone, only got them to see and understand not only a wider perspective, but also understand themselves better. She is an absolutely amazing addition to the cast, and I can't wait for more horny drunk shenanigans and heartfelt moments like this one. And with that, we wrap up with the origin of Momoha's love for gambling and booze, while a video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy pops up on the screen, alongside the video of my very own girlfriend OC. We'll just say her introduction accidentally lampshades Kishika's introduction and leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time in the void. Later.